Honorable GATHONI WAMUCHOMBA, MP Githunguri constituency. Mheshimiwa, you said, when we began by asking you how things are, you said things are not good. Things are looking bad. We went to the market. You were part of the people who were taking the people to the market as a campaigner for UDA. You got elected on a UDA ticket. When people then went home, they opened the bag. They were expecting to get this beautiful cabbage. They got a different thing.
They got managu.
Yeah. But you packed that thing. Are you saying that you also did not know what you were selling?
You know, Eric, those who follow my public contributions know my position. That I personally spoke very early about what was ahead of us in terms of allow me to concentrate and particularly discuss about taxes. Because when the finance proposal, before it became a bill, was put on the table for our scrutiny as members of parliament, I objected. And I gave reasons why. Because I do represent farmers, I felt like my farmers and what I call the micro producers were not taken care of within the proposal that was there then. And I was promised to relax that the big boss, the owner of the proposal then, is going to make sure that he concentrates on the micro producers. And I waited. And I got very frustrated because as I waited, we progressed on empowering the proposal to become a bill, which is now a law. And all through that process, I kept speaking. I kept saying, you cannot overtax the micro producer and expect to sustain the taxation. You cannot overtax the micro producer and expect an inflow of dollars in this country. And I was labeled and branded, and I got a lot of political resistance from the political powers that are maybe in this country. And therefore, when I say that things are not as good, I know what I'm talking about. Eric, I know what I'm talking about when my farmers can no longer rear what they used to rear in their backyard. The many pigs and the many cows that we reared in Githunguri are no more. Farmers are locking up their sheds, and it is very emotional for me to walk into somebody's boma and find an empty shed. No cows, no goats, no pigs, no poultry. And when you ask them, they tell you the cost of feed is so high, they cannot sustain the productivity. If you walk into Githunguri right now, I have 4 main shopping centers, what I call small upcoming urban centers. And the many shops that have locked up, Eric, locked up means they've closed the doors.
Shut down business.
It is alarming. And I must speak because I'm their representative. Why are they locking them up? Why are they shutting down? Because that farmer that was supplying them with milk is no more. That farmer who was coming to buy the dairy meal is no more. So they end up closing down. Where are we going? I keep saying, and I will continue saying, it doesn't matter my political stand. Like, all of you, whenever you are interviewing me, you keep on asking me. And you remember you are a UDA MP. Being a UDA MP doesn't mean that I don't feel the pain of what my farmers are going through. I'm also a farmer, I can tell you. Before this regime, I did better than I'm doing now as a farmer. And I can tell you, we cannot sustain this, Eric. We cannot. My farmers used to produce this many kilos of coffee. After we introduce what we have introduced, the tax regime that we have introduced, most farmers are cutting down their trees. Even with those many fabulous vocabularies we are using as we talk about coffee reforms. Coffee reforms can only be a reality if I have dollars or money in my account. It doesn't matter how many trips you take to Colombia or to Brazil or to wherever. It doesn't matter. To me as a farmer, what matters, how much money do I get per kg of my coffee? What matters is how much kilograms do we sell at the coffee exchange in Nairobi?
And how many kilos are you able to produce?
Exactly. And what is the quality of that coffee also? So I can tell you, my brother, it is never business as usual.
When you talk about taxes, Yesterday, we asked the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury.
I listened to
about
him.
taxes. And he said, can you tell me exactly what taxes we have introduced, new ones, that would then affect that micro producer? What new taxes are these that would make somebody who was rearing pigs be unable to do that anymore? Dairy farmer, a poultry farmer. What new taxes are affecting that micro producer?
One, the cost of fuel triggers an increase, an upward increase of all the farming inputs, whether there is taxes or not. Because if fuel levy is at 16%, that person who produces dairy meal for me and uses electricity or uses diesel will definitely have to put, for me, that extra charge on my cost of feeds. And that not only feeds, I mean every input, all the salts that we use, all the milking jellies that we use, everything goes up. Number two, I don't know whether you know that if I want to sell my pigs to some of the off-takers company that has traditionally been our off-takers, I have to produce an ETR receipt.
An ETIMS.
And most of my farmers don't even know what that is. And so there is that fear that I would rather slaughter my animal in my backyard and sell it at a throwaway price because nobody will ask me for that KRA voucher than take it to where I was taking and I was getting value for my money.
Product.
And that is why most farmers are running away from farming. All the farmers that were selling broiler chicken, they are all closing down. Because any hotel that is taking your poultry products will not take it traditionally the way they have been. You have to produce the KRA.
But it's free.
It is not free.
The ETIMS is free.
It is not free because that machine cost 40,000 shillings. Will you give me the 40,000 shillings for me to buy the equipment?
ETIMS is electronic. You just need to install it on your phone.
You are speaking like that
laptop.
when you are in standard media group setting. Please come to a place called Githunguri in Githega and you tell a farmer about a KRA machine that's supposed to produce
online
milk.
You know, let us go to the grassroots. Let's think grassroots.
Essentially, what you're saying, Mheshimiwa, is simply this.
Let me finish my submission.
Please finish your submission.
I don't know whether you know there are people they are calling KRS, Kenya Revenue Service Brigade. Who
the
are
paramilitary?
Yes, the paramilitary KRA tax collectors.
Yeah.
They look like they are small soldiers.
No, they look like security guards.
And they are coming in buses. When they vamia your shopping center, even if you run away, they will capture your power bill. They will capture your till, your M-Pesa till number, and they will track you down.
Wait.
So what is happening in my villages?
And this is at the village level?
Yes,
This is happening in
yes.
villages. Okay.
When people see a white bus, they are running away. Because that white bus is carrying those KRA guys. And now, what has happened right now, I am not speaking for Safaricom, but I can tell you, Safaricom is, within another 3 months, feel the pain. Because people are closing down the till numbers. They are withdrawing the till numbers from their shops.
Pay cash.
Because I don't want to have a till number, and this is a till number that these guys of KRA are going to come and use to track me down. So actually paying taxes in Kenya has become punitive.
But then,
And that is what I said. If you remember when I submitted on the National Assembly during the voting day, I said this bill, the finance bill, was punitive, oppressive, and scandalous.
sounds to me, Mheshimiwa, that what is needed here is tax education by KRA and those in authority. To come to, give me one of those towns.
Githega.
Githega. To come to Githega and call the business community in Githega and tell them, so this is what we'll do. We are not coming to shut you down. We are coming so that we can make you compliant.
Actually,
tax.
my people have no problem paying tax.
Because they
only have
are
a
not
problem.
avoiding paying tax.
Yeah.
They just need to understand this is how we'll do an e-teams. We'll do a roadshow where we come, we install it for you in your shop. We'll do this. These are the questions that we'll be asking.
Actually,
and this is the reason why we are asking that. It just sounds like it's just a lack of communication from those responsible.
Actually, people have no problem paying tax. People have a problem with being penalized for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Because you have never even used an ETR machine. You have never declared your zero returns. And then somebody comes and bombards you and finds you have a shop that is full of stock and tells you have a capacity to pay fines. So you are penalized for the last 5 years.
Okay, so let's look at something
So
else.
actually KRA is not making money out of the existing capacity to pay tax. They are actually making money from penalties.
From penalties, okay.
And that is what farmers are running away from, because most of them have not been declaring their returns.
Please tell your farmers KRA has a moratorium. What are they calling it? On that.
For a while until
on
people get
fines
ducks
and
in
penalties.
order.
Just pay the premium.
Can
the principal amount.
The
Sorry,
issue.
I cut you short.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. I'm used to being cut short. Ndu, please continue.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I mean, I'm looking at these levies and these taxes, and something else also that you have been vocal about is the housing levy. We know that all of this is in court right now, and maybe or maybe not. The CS has said we're going to continue collecting until and unless, whenever we are told to. It's going to continue. You've been vocal about that as well. Is it a pain point, and how so?
I think I was a bit confused when I listened to the judgments, because I didn't know what the court really wanted. Because you can't tell me this is unconstitutional and then you tell me continue paying what is unconstitutional. So I am still looking for somebody to help me interpret that judgment. But I think housing levy is one of the most contentious issue that we have right now within the 2023 Finance Act. Because I represent people who live in the rural village, and most of them have at least a piece of land where either when you got a job and you qualified to start paying house levy, you took a loan and started off your own house, or you bought a plot somewhere and you started construction, and you have been paying that loan, and then the government comes in and tells you now you need to start paying house levies. So that is double taxation to me. The people I represent, really, their need is not, the first priority need is not housing. The people I represent in Githunguri, and that is why I said the people of Githunguri have told me that they are not interested in housing. They are interested in markets. They are interested in value addition chambers. They are interested in, in revitalization and revamps of, coffee farming, tea farming, and milk farming. So the issue of housing levy, to me, is an issue that even if the courts don't sort us out now, in future, it will be one of the biggest campaign topic, even for the next government that will ever come. Because I still don't understand how you come to Kiambu County. My land is worth 300 million. You want me to hand you over this land without any form of agreement between you, the off-taker, and the owner. And you bring in a foreigner, and you want maybe that foreigner to be the contractor and the person to sell off these houses and take over the management of these houses in posterity. What is my role as the owner of that land? Remember, this land is valuable. So that is a very contentious issue. And the legal framework that has been managing the issue of housing, to me, is still not very clear. And I think when I said this is scandalous, I meant that there is some schemes of taking over prime land and handing that land to other players, unconstitutionally and procedurally, irregularly, and some of us, we will pay for what we are doing today in future. What will the governor of Kiambu tell the people of Kiambu? How did he hand over land to that contractor? And what is the role of county government of Kiambu in the management of those houses? What is the role of the county? Who supplies what? I want to ask you, I want to bring in a very serious issue. Let's go to Thika. We had houses that were done by the old Kiambu municipality. Those houses are occupied by county workers who pay very little rent to the county because they are county workers. You come in and tell them, move out of these houses, we demolish these houses, and we come up with fresh blocks.
Okay.
How do you tell this worker to move out? What assurance do you give him or her that when he moves out, you come up with new blocks, you are going to give him the first priority to own the house? What affordability platform do you provide for him or her? Do you provide him mortgage? Is the county government of Kiambu going to provide mortgage for those workers who are being evicted so that these houses can be built afresh? And can they afford the houses? Because remember, these are people who pay 2,000 for those houses per month.
For rent, yeah.
So if you come up with a house worth 5 million, for example, and this guy is 55 years old, amebakisha 5 years aritire, umemfukuza na familia, how do you then make him afford this house for the remaining 5 years? Those are the issues that we have. And those are the issues that make some of us stand very firm and say no. Until we are clear, nobody would fight city owning a house. I wouldn't fight my brother who is a driver or my cousin who is a nurse owning a house. I wouldn't fight that. But remember, I have a future in politics in this country. I don't want to ever be asked questions that I cannot answer. So I would rather stand for what I know and what I believe in. So for Governor Wamatangi to say, no, I'm not handing over this piece of land until I get it clear and until I go to the County Assembly of Kiambu and get clearance. For me, I think he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But unfortunately, this is Kenya. You say no to such a request,
Kichapo.
You suffer the consequences.
You know, you've just lent credence to something that has floated in the media and has been discussed, that you can't tax a country into wealth. And you also can't tax yourself out of poverty. And those who study economics, I'm not one of them, will tell you that you get to a point where the returns are now declining. They're negative. And that's what you've just described. The very people they were paying taxes. Their businesses were flourishing. The government would get their share. Now, we're getting to a point where slowly but very surely the government is getting less and less and less and less. So, the scheme that was intended to actually raise more money is not only not raising money, but it is actually ruining people's lives. They were okay. They were getting along fine. Because then one asks, what could the government have done to ensure that these people can produce more, do more business, because that's how you are able to get more money. The paramilitary group that you speak of, I have never been of help from day one. My colleagues kept telling me, you know, they're an advisory group, you know, they come and explain to you.
Your colleagues is Eric.
These two. These two. These two. But I call them KRA police, I was told.
They're not police.
No, but what? Look.
They're revenue officers.
Eric, let me tell you why my angst
why
about...
Why were they being trained to march? Because I saw them marching.
No, that's just so that they keep fit and disciplined.
I know that, you know.
What you are talking about is called the Laffer Curve.
Yes.
I happen to be an economist, not so deep. But I only took a course that made me a teacher in economics. The Laffer Curve states that you can only tax a community to some extent. Beyond that extent, you retrogress. You start going backward.
Diminishing returns.
And to simplify this in the layman's language, is like milking a cow that you're not giving food, calcium. If you milk a cow today and tomorrow, the third day, if you're not replacing and replenishing the calcium input into the cow will get what we call milk fever, and it will collapse and die. You lose the cow and you lose the milk. So what the Kenya government is doing is actually suicidal. economically.
But Gathoni, there are those who would argue, and I think I hear what they're saying. We have for a very long time been asking the government to widen the tax bracket. Stop only focusing your taxes on those that are in formal employment who give you pay, and then you're also able to nut them on everything else. Widen the tax bracket.
Sure.
Widening the tax bracket is going for those other areas. What has traditionally been called the Juakali sector, the informal sector, is going there and formalizing them. I see this as an effort to formalize them. If you're running a business in Githunguri, in any of the other towns, get into the formal tax bracket and contribute. What's wrong with that?
Eric, I will repeat. You cannot overtax the micro producer who are at the baseline of your triangle, the pyramid. Widening your tax base should be carefully done, step by step, not at once, so that the enablers of producer are not limited. Because if they are limited and they stop producing, then we are done. For example, right now, I heard cities talk about some dollar shortage when Murathe was here, when I was coming in, I was listening to you. And I can tell you that dollars are diminishing in circulation in Kenya. Why? Because the people who traditionally attracted dollars into this country are no longer producing. The cashew nuts producers, the coffee producers, the tea producers, that traditionally has sustained the inflow of dollars into the circulation. So you tax this person, you kill him, and then we are done.
You've said well.
I can't leave this studio before I talk about my bill. The bill that has been waited for in this country for the last decade.
And in fact, that's what we wanted you to talk about, and then we got caught up.
Then you started asking me about...
What we do is come back next week.
Yeah.
I really was coming here because of the bill. Because I
come
wanted
back next week.
I
Let's
wanted
talk about this
the
particular
senior
bill.
citizens of Kenya to feel comfortable that their pressing issues are now being addressed through a law that we are making.
Yeah.
And I started this process in 2019 in the previous parliament, and I am almost there. And I thank the members of parliament who have supported me, debated my bill, the geriatric bill 2022, which we are going to call the older persons bill. And
You'll
this
come
bill,
next week.
This bill is so important for the senior citizens of Kenya because for a long time these people have been discriminated against and they've been forgotten. They have been made beggars of their own economy. Yeah, but I would love to have talked about it.
Open invitation. We'll pick a date shortly next week. 9 a.m. GATHONI WAMUCHOMBA, MP Githunguri constituency.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.